It is not connected in any way to any of the folks in your club. My presentation styles, I like to be interactive. I like it when people stop and interrupt me. Having said that, I'm not necessarily going to see when you raise your hand or call something out. So, I mean, I don't know what the style is, Daniel, but feel free to unmute and talk. And if I'm talking and I don't hear you, then talk again and something, and
Yeah,
then I'll stop.
absolutely. We can definitely keep it more interactive. This group usually is fairly interactive. What we usually have people do is just put their chats, their comments in the chat, and then I'll judiciously interrupt you, and we'll bring something up on topic. If you want to bring it over to an open format where we're just letting people, unmute themselves and asking questions, that actually turns out to be a lot more organized than I would think it would be with a large group. So that's an option too.
Yeah, yeah, whatever you feel works best. I won't try to put parameters around the structure of it. If we'll go longer if we need to, or I know there's a limited amount of time, and hopefully we can get through the material that we have. Um, so let's kick it off. A little bit about my background. I did have a degree in computer science a while ago. My first one of my college projects was on an Intel chip. Became the basis, of course, for all the IBM PCs and predates, I'm sure, most of you. I've been in tech jobs, software engineering. I had a software business of my own and software consulting, and then I won't go through the whole story of how I got here, but I did end up buying my first multifamily property as a W-2 employee in 2010. I've acquired since about 320 units, various properties, gone full cycle on most of them. I still own a number of them, and then I do passive investments also. I look for properties in other markets just to diversify my investments because I'm a big believer in real estate, and I have some liquidity, and of course, you need that in order to be able to qualify for loans, but most of my investments are real estate. I've syndicated a number of them over the last 6 or 7 years or so, and that's really what I do today. I am out looking for properties, and I'm talking with brokers, and I'm talking with all kinds of other partners, and I search for properties. I do my own underwriting. I have spreadsheet models, and we'll talk a little bit about this, and I live in the Pacific Northwest. I hike, and coincidentally, one of the people that I met on a hike a number of years ago was the person whose employee created the operating system that became DOS back in the early 80s, and got to talk with that person. It's fascinating. It's just a rich environment. I'm sure a lot of you guys have had experiences similar to this as well. So, wanted to briefly mention my markets, the markets that I focus in, not really that applicable here, are mainly in the Midwest. I mean, I like Texas markets, Florida, Arizona, but they're just super competitive. I look for Class C multifamily properties in these other markets. So, uh, tools, the tools that I use, there's a variety of them. Um, I'm gonna hopefully I can get back to
Yeah, I was going to interject here too that
sure.
tech tools are always something that I think this group is interested in, and
Yes.
eh, let's instead of just going through and naming them, I'd
Yeah.
love to talk and ask how you use them.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
We're going to walk through each one of them. And a lot of them, when I get down to like market research and rent comps, I won't spend a lot of time on those calendars. I mean, we all have calendars that we use. A lot of us use different ones, but there's some good tools just to make sure that you have those available. And I'll talk about some of the newer ones, the technology that I'm starting to see in AI and so forth. And not necessarily that I'm digging into it and using it rapidly, but I'm sure that some of you guys are. A lot of you folks are probably further along than I am, and just have much more of a passion and utilizing the technology and getting better benefit than I am. And so, I mean, I think that's awesome. You guys should keep doing that, and I'd be learning from you in a lot of these cases. So spreadsheets, I'll go to you got to know about spreadsheets. Most of you do, and this is, I'm not going to go through, oh, these are how to do the formulas. You know these formulas. And I hang on, I'm going to get back to the spreadsheet slide here. But if you don't, it's the basic tool. It's the tool that you'll see most of the information from other investors. It's the tool that you share your findings and the work products from. You got to get familiar with them, and it's not just a few of the formulas, but you gotta know how to create a nice format to be able to share. That's been one of my challenges. As I mentioned at the beginning, I do most of the underwriting myself for my deals. And I've done this by looking at other people's underwriting models. Underwriting. So, what is underwriting? It is the process of looking at financial data for the investment that you're looking at, typically real estate. You're getting information from a broker about a property. You're getting rent rolls, a T12, which is 12 months worth of income statement, income and expenses, and you are moving it into a model that you can make projections out of. You can look at their data and you project it into your own. Like, are you going to spend the same on property management as they are, and so forth? You modify some of that data and then you project it out. What can I do with rents, for example? I can increase rents 3% or 20% or something in between. The first year, second year, am I going to make any money? That all boils out in the spreadsheet, as I'm sure you guys know. And if you're looking at somebody else's deal, they're going to send it to you in a spreadsheet. We'll talk about, well, what if the broker sends me a PDF? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But you got to be familiar with it. You got to get your model set up. I've merged the good ideas and a whole bunch of different underwriting models into my own underwriting model, and it's my spreadsheet, and I keep it expanding it over time. It is the key tool that I use to analyze and communicate deals. And one of the challenges that I had with it earlier is that I'd send my information out, and I'm just so proud of my information and my analysis and everything. And I send it out to potential partners, people experienced in real estate, and they're like, what is this? What is that? They just don't understand. So I realized, this is not very clear to read. And so I've improved that over time. And that's something that you'll need to do. Formatting, complicated formulas. If you're using complicated formulas, you got to be able to boil it down to something somebody else can read so that they can figure it out. Don't assume everybody's the spreadsheet expert that you are.
Hey,
Automate.
oh,
Yeah.
John, I was wondering, could I share we have a club spreadsheet as well that
Yeah,
goes through a
yeah,
lot of modeling of commercial, different types of commercial analysis. And I just wanted
yeah.
to throw it in there. This is
Hey,
freely available to you, anybody else. But I also took some pains to make this look nice. And it also walks through how to do cash on cash, IRR, hold period analysis, all sorts of things that commercial investors do.
okay. Are you
So.
sharing or do I have to stop sharing?
No, no, no. I threw it into the chat for everybody.
Oh,
So
okay.
you go ahead and keep sharing.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. No, there's a lot of good spreadsheet underwriting models out there. There are some that are not so good. Look at them all, try to analyze them, see if you can figure out the way that they're calculating certain numbers. That's a great way to learn. And I see spreadsheets from people sending me deals that I look at it and where everything in a column or a row is a formula, and then there's a number that's just entered. And to me, that seems like they're manually overwriting something that they didn't want to communicate, and it's a little bit amateur. And I just it's a big red flag for me. If it's not clean and automated, if there's not a way to derive those numbers, I'm somewhat skeptical. It's not a deal killer necessarily, but look for those things. I try to automate everything that I can in the whole set of derivations.
Do you mind if I jump in and throw some opinion out there, or should I?
Not at all. You mean
So
share?
sure, I can share. And I'm not trying to jump in or anything,
No,
but
no,
one
please
thing,
do.
a couple of best practices that I like to use, here's the spreadsheet, is that whenever I like to make sure that all the inputs are all in one area. They're not intermixed with the formulas over here. And so it's very clear where the inputs are and what needs to be adjusted. The other thing I like to do is I always put the inputs in blue. Things that the user can change are in blue. Things that are formula based are black. And if you have just a couple of simple best practices like that, it can become very easy, or you can make spreadsheets very much more usable and easy to use. And then any sort of comments that I create, I always put inside a box like this. And I usually try to make it, it's nice to make analysis easy to use for people at a first glance rather than mixing together formulas and inputs all within the same tables. So that's all I wanted to share.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's super important that you distinguish all that, and that's the sign of a good spreadsheet that somebody else can readily pick up and understand. And a few of the things that I do is I'm integrating a rent roll model that projects rents based on where they are today, whether I feel I can remodel it, what the rent after renovating it will be, and a conservative increase in rents over time. Are we able to project a 5, 7, 8% increase in rents over the next several years? Maybe we used to be, but we sure can't today. And
Hey, John.
but what can we project? I mean,
Hey John, could
yeah,
could you reshare your screen?
yeah. Let me see here.
Quick question, John, while you're
Sure.
loading. So when you're thinking about this design, so that you can, do deal analysis, for example, do you have that integrated with your performance to plan, or are they separated?
They're separated. That would be useful to have so that each year I can say our plan was this and here's how we performed. I've not taken it to that level yet. I've seen some other syndicators who do or like to report that this is on plan or ahead or behind plan.
So why
Yeah.
why is that something that you don't find valuable?
I have preferred to report our experiences based on what we're getting out of the actual operations. We're telling investors that we still might make changes as we progress. We're not necessarily gonna be slaves to our plan from the outset, where we might find other opportunities to do some capital improvement that we had not previously planned on. We might reallocate some of our capital improvement funds to different types of things, and it might either accelerate or delay the rent increase improvements that we're planning. And to be honest with you, our investors have not asked for it. We report the information on basic operations and we keep them up to date about issues, but you run the danger of inundating. I shouldn't say that. It's not a danger, but providing them more detail than what they can really navigate through. If we're asked about it, if there's a call for it, we definitely would.
Another thing, John, and I know you've probably run into this too, is that when you're doing your asset management separate from your underwriting, there's a lot of people that actually ask for the underwriting only or the asset management only. You might be sending your operating numbers to your lender, for instance, and your underwriting to investors, or different people tend to ask for particular sets of information. So maintaining it, you need an easy way to either, if you're going to maintain it together, you need an easy way of also being able to send it separately. A lot of people in this industry also use proprietary underwriting models, which can't be sent out, unfortunately, or at least not legally sent out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, that's kind of it for the spreadsheets. I'll move on to the next tool that we have, an investor portal. Uh, this is a recent class of software systems, tools, online tools that that are prevalent in the syndication industry. So an investor portal is a website where investors, prospective investors, can come and create an account and look at potential deals that you have. Typically, if you are the syndicator, if you're the person sponsoring a deal, putting a deal together, and lining up investors, you have subscribed to an investor portal tool, and you are starting to post information about your next deal. Maybe you have several deals, and when you talk to prospective investors, you might point them here. If you have investments that they don't necessarily have to get to know you. I'm not going to go into all the SEC rules about accredited investors and different types of registrations and all that. But there are some deals where you don't even have to talk to your investor. In my case, I do. I definitely want to know them and have a relationship with them. But you might have a link from your main website. Today's investor portal. Go here to sign up. There you'll see the deals that this particular sponsor has active that you might want to invest in. You can click on links to see about the information. You can see details about the projected returns, pictures of the property, the business plan, what they're thinking of doing for that property to make it a better value, and what's the whole theme around this property. What's the story for it? Is it a retired investor owner who just sold it? Is it a deal that you've been talking to them over a year and now you're getting it at a 25% discount? Whatever that story is, you'll see that information there. Typically the things you see in an offering memorandum, and you'll see links for wiring information, routing number and account number. If you want to invest, then here's where you upload your money. You'll see links for the legal documents that you have to sign before you're allowed to do that, and everything else. So once you do that and you upload your money and you're part of the deal and the deal closes, then over time you get information from this investor portal. You might even get your cash distributions from this investor portal. There's several of them around. If you're thinking of doing this, of syndicating, I mean, I know that you might be buying properties, or maybe you, like what Daniel just showed you, you might want to syndicate, looking at a deal, you've got a deal and you want investors to come into it, then maybe it's a joint venture or a syndication or something where you're taking outside investors. You should be thinking about an investor portal. And there are several of them around. You guys might, I mean, if you have ones that you like, or if you used or have seen other people use that you like, feel free to mention it. But it's a great tool that automates so much of the whole investment process. And so I will show you, the one that I used is called Syndication Pro, and this is my dashboard view of like a portfolios. I'm not showing any names or dates or anything. This is the actual stuff, but it's an investors, a portfolio, other details about them, and what offerings they might have, when it started, and amount committed, and things that you can do. Also, if you have other partners in your other general partners, I should say, in your deal, which you most likely will, they might have brought investors themselves. They might have brought different investors, and so their investors are looking to them as their connection to the deal. Your investors are looking to you. You don't have a relationship with their investors, and so an investor portal will sort all that out. They can keep track of who is the general partner that brought me into the deal. And because that's the person I know and trust. And I don't want, if they don't know me, John Totter, they're not going to want to hear from me. And so their connection through the investor portal is through their general partner. Okay. CRM. A lot of you probably have dealt with different CRMs. It is more than just a database. There are a lot of different tools that they offer. In my work life, I was a consultant for a while, and one of the big things that I did was system implementations. And so I've implemented a number of different CRMs, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, and some others. And in my own personal real estate use, I've used a number of free ones. They are good. They are databases to track whoever you need to track, investors, brokers, and other people that you interact with. It is about tracking information. It is about prompts to follow up. And it's about going into lists of people and being able to take action based on some criteria of lists. If you want to do a marketing campaign to everybody in one particular city, then certainly you can find that. It will do campaigns where you're sending out emails to them. It depends. It depends on what your particular CRM is offering. There are a lot of good ones. You can look up CRMs, and a lot of you guys have them. There are a lot of great CRMs that are available. I would recommend that you find one. Don't try to keep, spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets, and we all use them. And I've used investor list spreadsheets for a long time. If you can move that into your CRM, you'll be better off.
And Todd, I was going to ask the group here, if you have a favorite CRM. This is a tool that I know a lot of engineers might use. Go ahead and throw it in the chat. I'm actually curious what people's CRMs are. I haven't found one that I really love, so I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts. But
yeah,
and you too, Todd. What do you use?
Well, John. It's my last name is
John. Sorry.
Believe me, that's why. But I get that all the time. No problem.
I'm looking right at your name, and
yeah. The one that I use, and I was going to get to that in a minute, is Active Campaign, and it is a paid CRM. I've used others in the past. I've used Zoho was the most recent one, and several others. They're okay. The problems, I'm mentioning, like, there's got to be able to send emails and link with other tools and manage your funnel. The problem is that a lot of them do part of those and not everything. Let me get to the next slide. There are a lot of free versions, but you want to be sure that the company's going to be around, and they one of the risks is the company goes out of business. I mean, they're free. They don't have an obligation to you. You can't say you owe me because this or this or this. You spent a lot of time entering your contacts into that database, and they're managing it, and you've got good value out of it, but it was all free. And now something happened to it. They upgraded, or they did something or messed you up, and now you can't get to your data. Well, that's a problem. I mean, you can still use a free one. I don't suggest that you not use a free one, but be doing, take your precautions, export data out of it, and pull it into a spreadsheet just in case. You don't have to manage it from your spreadsheet, but you still want to keep a local version of it. You want to be able to import. I mean, I go to conferences, I go to places where I'm meeting a lot of people, and I'm entering them into spreadsheets, and it's just great to be able to import it into your CRM. You want to know when it's time to call somebody or take some other action. This I use all the time. Is it time to follow up, particularly with a broker? If I'm talking with brokers, I need to know if I talk to them and something was going to happen the next 2 or 3 weeks, I want to know about that. You want these notifications, and however you get your notifications, pop up, email, text, or whatever it is, or you just want to be able to go in and see what your current actions are. Easy searching and reporting, of course. Look for the limitations to your free version. So Active Campaign, for me, is the next level. And so um, I'm paying an amount per month. It's not super expensive, but it allows me to do things like automations. And automation is a tool in the CRM that that automatically does certain tasks, like recategorizes them, sends emails out to them, and takes them through sort of a drip campaign. If it's a person who came to my website, so the integration is the last part. I mean, that's an awesome feature. It's super valuable. They come to my website and they say, "Oh, I like you very much, and I would like more information." And they enter their name and their email. There's a connection from my website to the CRM that puts their name into my CRM. They're going to get my next newsletter, and it puts them on an automation. I've not met them yet. I have no idea who they are. They're going to get a series of emails without me even meeting them. The whole purpose of the email is for me to meet them. I need to have a conversation, but I'm not pushy. I'm not going to sell. That's not what I'm out there for. My purpose is to educate and bring them along and answer questions, and it helps them decide, is this even something they want to do? And they might choose not to, but if they do, the opportunity is there for them to connect and to book a call. I'm not constantly saying book a call, book a call, book a call, that kind of thing. It's not the way. It's not prudent to interact with somebody like that. They just wanted to check it out and let them go. Let them go with their heart's content, and then and so you're designing all these emails in the system. And for me, it's Active Campaign, and the emails look something like this. There's some logic to it. You guys have no trouble figuring out the logic and building these automations. I actually had another consulting guy set up my automations for me, and now I get in there and tweak them and I adjust them for my own needs. But these are tremendously valuable. It takes such a big time commitment out of your hands, and allows you to nurture people, to find people. If you have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, and you're sending them in your profile, you say, "Oh, yeah, here's the way to contact me," then they will do that. They'll come to your website or some other way, or maybe they'll book a call and they'll say they'll get onto your list. And so incidentally, I'm just checking something, Daniel. I just noticed there's a lot of comments, and I apologize, but I'm not seeing the comments in real time. And I could go through here. Maybe at the end, Daniel, I could go through and
well, we haven't had too many comments yet.
okay.
There were some. I'll interrupt you and ask them when questions come in.
Great.
And of course, people here, you know the drill. Feel free to put your questions in the chat.
Yes.
But especially too, do any of you use a CRM besides Outlook? I tend to use SendPulse, which is very similar to Active Campaign. Lets you create automations, and it's got a CRM, and it has the ability to send campaigns, and it's got quite a few other things like web chat bots, and you can create forms and web pages and things like that. But I've tried Active Campaign too, and Active Campaign is a great tool. I think it's probably the industry standard tool. Most people tend to use it. But if there are other CRMs out there, I know there's Zoho. There's what is there? Links 24. It's a couple of free ones as well. HubSpot. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean I can't comment on the quality or reliability of most of them. I've tried some of them. I got turned on to Active Campaign, and spent a lot of time investing in all the automations and my lists, and it sends out the emails. It just does a good job. I've had problems with Zoho creating emails and formatting them real nicely, and then having an issue with the way that it went out. And certainly you need your emails authenticated, that's a whole nother topic, and setting up your email provider so that your emails are not going to come across as spam to the recipient, and they're not going to get
G-
rejected. But
Gmail actually just tightened their spam qualifications about a week ago.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
it's ever
Wow.
more important to kind of be with somebody who's on top of that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Um, okay. That's CRM. We'll move on to calendars. Uh, I see in a lot of corporate environments use of other calendars, and I see Calendly used by people um, who are maybe off on their own or in smaller organizations. Corporate environments, for all the right reasons, standardize on something like the Google systems, the Microsoft systems, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, something like that. Um, they're great tools, and you're never going to get away from them. And they're the ones you've become familiar with in your corporate environment. Uh, but can you use it outside of your corporate? You want to set up a time with somebody else. Um, uh, I use Calendly because I have an Outlook uh, calendar, and I have a Google calendar, and I can sync between them. And if somebody comes to my calendar through Calendly, then not only have I put all my work hours and when they can schedule there, but it knows when I've already got a meeting booked, and not necessarily even through Calendly because it's synced. I've got the tools to sync them, and it wasn't easy to set up, but it's synced now, and it works really cleanly. And if you can work toward that objective, that just helps a lot. I mean, going back and forth, especially if it's more than just the two of you meeting, the three or four or five people, I mean, my gosh, you know how difficult that can be. So having some way of automating that uh, makes your process a lot easier. Integrating the other thing Calendly does is if I've been sending out emails to prospective investors and one of them says, okay, I'll book a call. They go to my Calendly link and they book a call. Well, my active campaign database finds out about that too. And now they get bumped into another status. And so I know who has set up time with me. I don't have to manually do that. Active Campaign already knows about that because I've got it integrated. Um, Calendly, in my case, I could have different time periods for meetings, of course, and it can be Zoom or phone or a combination. And I can have like I had a group of people who I really wanted to talk to. These were people that had already invested in my deals, and I like to get updates from them, reach out to them periodically and say, I'd like to hear about what you think is going on in the market and what your objectives are, and how are they different than years past. And so I wanted them to get on my calendar the first possible opportunity. And so I created a workspace that was a lot more hours available than everybody else. Now my hours are like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I like to have Tuesdays and Thursdays dedicated to other things that I might want to do. But for these people, I gave them every day of the week, and you can do all that very easily in Calendly. Um,
Hey, John.
and
So I was a Calendly user for probably the last 5 years or so. And there's a newcomer on the block that I actually just switched to,
yeah,
cal.com. I don't know if you've seen it.
I
Um,
probably have. I've seen some others, but not too often. But you like that, huh?
I do. I've been using it now for about 2 months or so, and the thing that I like about it is, I was paying 14.99, I think, a month for Calendly,
Okay. Yes.
and all the functionality that I use in Calendly, which is a good deal, the syncing the Outlook and the Google calendars, setting up meetings with people. They've got a bunch of integrations so that you can do, if you're a coach, you can do paid time. All that sort of thing is in a free tier. And they only pay for teams. So if you're a team,
Okay.
it's not free. Um, but I'm still testing it out. I'm about 2 months in, and so far I'm recommending it.
Awesome. Yeah. No. I the reason I suggest Calendly is because it is familiar to other people, but
Yeah.
the important thing is for it to integrate with your other systems and know when you've already got a meeting blocked. And if another tool does that, then that's great. No reason not to try something like that. Calendly is familiar to a lot of people. At a meeting booked this morning, and she wanted to be sure that I had phone numbers and stuff. And during the discussion, I mentioned that you can set it up so it can be Zoom or phone numbers or things like that. And I'm realizing that it is so simple to set up. Anybody can do it quickly, but and after a while you learn the additional features that it has, and I'm sure the same is true for another good tool like Cal. So yeah.
Yeah, it's indispensable.
It is, yes. The next thing that I would recommend is a mapping tool. Google Maps, Bing Maps. I've worked at Microsoft for a number of years, and um, the idea of Google Maps was just never considered. It was always Bing Maps, promoting Bing Maps because it's a Microsoft product. And through that time, I got to know and appreciate Bing Maps, and I still use it a lot. I know it's not the dominant provider, but there's a lot of value to that I hadn't seen in some of the other ones. But regardless, whatever your preference is, you got to find one. You look at the street view. For these, this is for like checking out a property. And the question comes up, particularly from lenders, is people that are partnering for you. Well, you're investing in this other city that's 2,000 miles away. How do you get there? Do you have the boots on the ground? I hear that all the time. Do you have boots on the ground? And so, well, like, no, I don't have boots on the ground. I don't have anybody in the city that is living there. But really, I want to tell them I don't have to. There's nothing I can't learn through other means without being on the ground. I've complete access to all their news sources. I can find people to go to the site and walk through the property. I can acquire any of the services. And really, if you have boots on the ground, if there's somebody living 5 miles away from your property, they're not going to get in the car and drive to the property. They're going to go online and find a vendor or a contractor just like you would. And so there's very little that you can't do for living pretty far away. Nevertheless, a lot of people ask for it, and they really want somebody as part of a deal before they'll join a deal, including lenders. So what do we see? We see walking up and down the street. We see what the retail is like. We see other properties nearby. Just a precaution, it could be an older picture and it might not be a realistic view. So you have to take that into account. And for Google, you can see the date the picture was taken. It could have been this year, last year, or it could have been 10 years ago. Be aware of that. What's going on near the property? Is it a lot of old unmaintained streets? Is there a lot of graffiti, gang tags or things like that? And what kind of retail do they have? And I list a few here: bars or auto repair, tattoo parlors. I mean, that's not a bad thing necessarily, but if that's all that's there, it's probably not going to attract a higher end clientele. If you've got more modern, newer retail, shopping malls, other prosperous types of business, especially manufacturing plants, that's a better thing. That's a better indicator of a good area. If that's what you're looking for, a lot of people are looking for disaster areas or places that are just where you have a great opportunity to get a property for pennies on the dollar and do a lot of work and make a ton of money. Whatever your perspective is. Another thing that I've done that I can recommend is hire a freelancer from someplace like Facebook Marketplace to go to the property, take some pictures, Dropbox the pictures to you. Those are current, accurate, and unstaged pictures, unlike what you would probably get from a broker. And it's probably inexpensive, $25, $50 or so, and people will do that. I know that we're running a little low on time. I'll kind of blow through a lot of these. PDF conversion, you get a lot of data from brokers in a PDF format. You guys have probably tried some of these. I love PDF.com, I think is really one of my favorite. It converts a PDF file to an Excel spreadsheet. I need the stuff in Excel. I can't just visually scan a PDF. I need to be able to manipulate it and move it into different formats. And you can do different things if the PDF does not convert easily, like if it's in an image pasted into a PDF. You have to try these things. Microsoft OneNote is one good way that I've seen for pulling information out of an image. Market research. I could go on and on. We could do a whole 1-hour presentation on market research. And this applies to any kind of real estate, not just multifamily, but a few of the places that I go are citydata.com, census.com, crime grade. U-Haul migration is interesting. There is published information. Where are people moving? and rates of change and all of that. And you can correlate it with other people's more accurate data, but if the data is showing this one city is growing, Austin or Phoenix, or a lot of people moving there, sure enough, you're going to see U-Haul migration to that area. What kind of submarket is it? The other thing that I'd say about market research is, like, one of my markets is Kansas City, for example. I like Kansas City a lot, but I don't like every area of Kansas City. And if you read about Kansas City and it says, oh yeah, it's growing pretty well, a little bit, well, that's not the whole picture. Some areas are growing a lot, some areas are growing not at all. And that's true everywhere. Whichever market you like, Phoenix, Dallas, St. Louis, Memphis. I mean, St. Louis and Memphis, high crime areas. New Orleans, high crime areas. Oh, I'm not going to invest there. Well, guess what? A lot of people do, and they do really well because they know those areas. They know the submarkets to invest in. Median home price, jobs growth, population growth. A good trick I was taught just a couple of years ago. Google the name of the city and the population, and you see a nice little growth chart. Google has set that all up. Market rents, you got to know what you got to be able to figure out. There are a lot of different ways of figuring out market rents and the comparables, the market comps, rent comps, different ways of phrasing it. Is there an upside opportunity? This is critical for me. I need if that owner has a pristine property and they've renovated units and they've got rents really at market, there's not much of an opportunity for me. I'm good for them for having done their job, but really that's what I do. I want to buy a property that I can get rents up, I can invest in renovations, and see and then know that I can get the rent out of it. But you got to know, you got to be able to look at tools and be sure that that market will sustain this higher rent before you go investing in it.
Just to let
go ahead.
Just to let you know, we've got 5 minutes left.
Okay, that's why I left this part at the end. Personalities, tech pro. I mean, I'm kind of I like to work with people from the technology industry because I'm familiar with it. I understand the personalities. There are a lot of a lot of reasons why people have not reached financial independence as a technology professional. Some of them are like they like their jobs. They don't want to spend a lot of time in other things. They think their future is based on getting better at their jobs. Other people want to do both. They want to be financially independent. And I can tell you, once you're at financial independence, you know, the world opens up to you. You've got other options. No reason you can't stay at your job. I mean, I worked at Microsoft, and I'm sure Intel is the same way. Is that there are people there that are making 7 figures and multiple 7 figures, and they are still there and intend to stay there because that's what's fun for them. They like to stay there. The reason you might be concerned about safety. There are reasons why you're not doing the right things. Joining a group like this is a phenomenal step in achieving your financial independence, but it's not something that very many people in the technology industry do. Not understanding the risk and safety, accounting for risk of doing nothing. They're investing in treasury bonds, money markets, S&P 500 indexes, and nothing wrong with them, but they're not your path to financial independence. Let's see, and we'll get to this is one of the last ones. Expanding your comfort zone. I see this in my friends, the people I've worked with frequently. Your circle, they're reinforcing your limiting beliefs. I know this is a kind of a mindset thing where you want to are you open to understanding that maybe your mindset is not oriented for real estate investing? Then listen to people who have important things to say about that. It can be super useful. I've not spent a lot of time. I'm one of those people that came along after a long period of time. When you jump ahead of them and they get left behind, you're no longer in their sphere of influence. I've seen this happen, that they don't want you to get too far ahead or do too well. A lot of them, not necessarily all of them. They're still your friends. They're people maybe you can listen to for various reasons, but you've got to be able to tune out a lot of the negative energy that comes from people. And being ready to change your the nature of your friendships, and ultimately the bottom line, expand your network. Always be out there talking to other people and learning about what they do and how they got to where they are. Let's see, marketing. I won't say it. I mean, this is one that I was guilty of. I knew very little about marketing. It is something you can learn. You don't have to be a born marketer. You're a born engineer. You're always good at math and technical things, and you put things together. That's awesome. You can also learn about marketing too. A few other things, paralysis by analysis. That's a little bit of a general term, but we're all guilty of that. That's all that I had. Here's my contact information. You can reach me a number of different ways. My company, Cardinal Oak Investments. Email john@cardinaloak.com, and my phone number 425-442-5998. You can see my LinkedIn profile, my link tree, a bunch of other links, social media, website, and so forth. So thank you, Danielle. Hopefully you guys got a few things out of this, and it's been of value to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I encourage you to reach out to John if you're interested in following up more with what he does and his services. And if there are any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But for now, could you guys take yourselves off mute and thank John for coming in and speaking to us today?
Hey, thanks,
John.
Thank you, 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 John.
Yes, thank you.
All right, then. We'll let you go. We're going to be back here next week with a visit from DLP Capital, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Have a great weekend.